FOJ 30 back in the house. What's up, Jason?
Jeff, what's going on? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm surprised I was able to make it back into the States given the current border issues. But yes, I am back from the EU.
It's good to be a citizen. You know what I'm saying?
It does help. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, but I'm excited to hear all about your trip to the other side of the world. And I know. What is it? I had a couple people ask me, where's the podcast? Where's the latest episode? And I'm like, well, if you paid attention to the podcast, we said that we'd be off a couple of weeks. So yeah, we've been out for a couple of weeks, but hey, we're back and hopefully better than ever. And let's go.
Yeah. A couple weeks off. I was in Europe for work and for vacation a little bit. So it's good times, but yeah, pay fucking attention, people.
No doubt. And it's funny because they were asking me, hey, maybe you could do a solo show. I'm like, look, I don't have all the bells and whistles that my buddy Jeff has. They're like, well, you could just record it in your phone. I'm like, yeah, but it's just not going to be the same. So no.
It's fine. Look, anybody can do a podcast. It's super easy to do. But yeah, I like doing it with you.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
We have a good time. And So
yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could have done it, but I didn't really want to. I can't grab FOJ on my own. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, it's all good, man.
You can do your own thing. I find it weird doing it by myself.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like I can't just like sit here and just spout at nothing. I need somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I need back and forth banter. I think if I tried to do it on my own, and believe me, I've thought about just doing Chicago sports and all that stuff and blah blah blah, but I think I would rush through it because I would just want to spit it all out and just then you're like, oh crap, we're like 10 minutes in and I got nothing.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I mean, even the people that you see doing it like by themselves have like a team with them that are writing scripts and notes and pacing the show and the flow and all that stuff. Like there's a lot that, like, even if you see just one face on camera or you're listening to one voice, there is a ton of work happening behind the scenes
for sure
just to enable that.
For sure.
So yeah. Let's see. I don't know. Where do you want to start this week? Because I feel like we've got a lot to cover since we missed the last couple of weeks. And I'll be honest, I have no idea what's been going on in the world, especially in the world of sports, with me having been out of the country for the last couple weeks.
Well, hey, let's talk about your trip. I mean, okay, started off, what was it? In Berlin, I believe. And that was mainly for work. So what was the conference? What did you do? What was your role? And how was it?
Yeah, it was great, actually, really great. It started off on a shitty note because leaving my home airport here was delayed. So I had a 2-hour layover, theoretically, going into Atlanta, and then Atlanta to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to Berlin. That was Friday night.
Okay,
a couple weeks ago. So left late from Asheville, and so I was like, okay, well, at this point, we'll see if I make my flight. Kept getting delayed. And at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm probably not going to make my flight from Atlanta to Amsterdam, which means I would be delayed almost a full day because it's not like they have, hourly flights from there.
Sure.
So anyway, I get to Atlanta airport and we have right now, as I'm going in for the landing, we have about 45 minutes for a connection, which is really kind of the minimum.
Yeah.
Because when you hear you have a 45-minute connection, what that means is from your landing time to when the plane is supposed to take off. What that means actually is the plane has started to board already, right. 30 to 40 minutes from that time. So by the time I landed, I would be basically boarding and then, would have that boarding time essentially to make the gate. So we go to land in Atlanta, and there were storms or whatever it was a couple weeks ago. So it made, traffic in and out of Atlanta kind of rough.
Uh-huh.
But we go to land and we miss the landing. So we have to do a circle around because the pilot did not like the approach. And that cost me 15 minutes right there. Just going for the land, you get down low. And then when you feel that acceleration, like, okay, we've aborted the landing and we're going around again. It happens.
Was that a pull up type situation?
Not quite. I've flown enough where it happens every once in a while, especially when you have windy conditions. Like, it's just the way it is. So, but at this point, I'm at a 45-minute, connection time. Now I'm down to essentially a 30-minute connection time because it takes about 15 minutes to, go back around, get back into the glide path, and then land. So I'm like, okay, it lands. I've already at this point been checking the app, and this is Delta, by the way. I've been rebooked onto a different flight. So they're like, you're not going to make your connection.
So they did this for you.
Yes. And this is, and I think most airlines will do this. Now, I happen to have like top tier status at Delta just because I fly so much.
Sure.
So I think they generally will take care of, their more valued customers instead of the peasants first. But I've already been booked on a new flight, and I was like, okay, it is what it is. But it was for the next day. So I was going to basically have to spend the night in Atlanta, which I've done before. Not a big deal. But I'd lose basically a day of travel just because of that delay. So we land, we get to the gate, and it's like, okay, it's 30 minutes, let's see what happens. And then it becomes 10 minutes go by before they would let anybody off the plane because of lightning in the area. And when there's lightning at an airport, they shut down the field. You can't have anybody outside, which means baggage handlers, all those folks can't be out there. And they don't like to have people on the jetway, the jet bridge to the plane because of lightning strikes, stuff like that. And so there's a lot of confusion on whether or not they're letting us off the plane or not off the plane. And so we spent about 10 minutes going back and forth, talking to the gate agent across the jet bridge with the door open. And the flight attendant who's not letting anybody off the plane because they're saying they can't let anybody off, right? Whatever it may be. Meanwhile, I'm not the only one with a very tight connection. Everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, we need to get out of here. Like, we got connections to make.
Yeah.
And like literally I'm in like row 2. So I'm like, the door's right there. I could be like gone. So anyway, 10 minutes passes. They find, all right, they let people off. But people who had checked baggage or gate checked baggage would have to wait because they couldn't get that off the plane yet. So like, good. I don't have anything with me. I traveled to Europe for 2 weeks with nothing but a backpack and a carry-on suitcase. So
wow,
my goal of pack light and travel light definitely worked out this time. So now I've got a game time decision. I have about 20 minutes to get from, where was I? Like D3, which if you're familiar with the Atlanta airport, and if you're not familiar, let me explain it to you. It's a little bit like a spine, right? And then you've got gates or terminals A through F that run down the spine, and they kind of branch off like ribs, basically.
Sure.
And of course, anytime I fly from Nashville, I'm generally at one of the very ends of the spines because that's where the smaller planes tend to end up. So I'm at the very end of D, and I have to go to the very end of F. So think of like a big C, right? If you're kind of drawing in your mind.
Yeah.
Now, Atlanta's great to get around for the most part. It has a tram that runs through the spine area, runs back and forth. Generally speaking, you can get from one end of the airport to the other in about 15 to 20 minutes. Kind of depends on whether or not you hit the tram schedule, whatever maybe. So like, all right, 20 minutes. Let's do this. So as soon as I get off the plane, I am hauling ass, sprinting through Atlanta airport from D down to the tram. I catch the tram, like literally like 5-second wait. And there's monitors that tells you like when the next tram's coming. So, all right, it's 5 seconds. Like, yes, sweet. I get in and it's not busy. So I find a spot right away, get in. Okay, things are looking good. But at this point, it's already been like 5 minutes because it takes forever to run through a crowded terminal, right? So anyway, I haul ass through Atlanta airport. When you get to Terminal F, it is like 2 long escalators flights up. It's not like just 2 normals. It's almost like 4 stories. So I like I picked up my bag, had my backpack. I'm carrying probably like 80 pounds of gear, with me. And I'm hauling ass up this, 4-story escalator, moving at the same time, which was, fine. Fortunately, nobody in front of me. Again, fully empty escalator. I'm like, all right, let's go.
So
I get to
no stiff arm necessary.
No stiff arm necessary. No, get your ass on the right side.
Gotcha.
Fucking asshole. Don't stand on the left. All those rookie travelers, right?
Yes.
No, I hadn't done any of that. So I caught all the brakes. I get to, the top. I'm fucking winded, man. I just sprinted up 4
Not
floors.
Not as young as we used to be, Jeff.
Right. Oh, yeah. With my backpack and my carry-on luggage. I get to the top, like, okay. And I pick up the pace again. I run from the center of F down to, I think it was F3 or something like that, which is, normally probably like a 5-minute walk. I haul ass down there. I get there, and there's literally the last person in the line, like getting checked at the line, and they were like calling my name, like because I had not showed up to the flight. So I made it, right? I made to the gate in time. And what's important to note here is I get to the gate, and it's being operated by not Delta, but like a partner airline, KLM Airlines, which is Royal Dutch Airlines from Netherlands, which is fine, like whatever. So they were not aware of my delay. Usually if there's a delay like that, the people are kind of aware that there may be a couple late arrivals, but they were not aware of that. But I get to the gate, and I'm like, here I have my ticket, here's my passport. I'm like dying, dude. I was gonna have a heart attack. I'm out of breath. I'm like, all right, I just read for D. They're like, can I see your passport? Like, because my ticket wasn't working because I'd already been rebooked on the new flight.
Oh, yeah.
But I did not accept the new booking. Like, it's just there until you accept it. I'm like, okay. But I was like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. I will sprint to the gate and see what happens. I made it. Get to the gate, show them my ticket. Like, it's not working. They had given away my seat to someone.
Oh.
So here I am. But fortunately, they had an extra seat in first class, which is where I had already booked. So I'm like, sweet. So like they let me on the plane. They sort the issues out. Whew, right. I'm sweating. I look like a mess. And this is how we started off my European trip, right?
And you had no luggage. So
airport.
Everything you had with you was with
carry on. 100% carry on. And that's the only reason I made it. Yeah. Was because of that. And that's like I said, I hate checking luggage.
Sure.
Pack light. You don't need all the shit you carry around with you.
Sure.
So I get to the flight. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like out of breath still, get my seat, and sit down. And they're very nice on the plane, stuff like that. Hey, get you something to drink. Glad you made it. They saved me overhead space. I'm like, yeah, this is sweet. Like, this is the way it's supposed to work. And then we get delayed for an hour. Couldn't even take off because of the storms in Atlanta. So I made the flight. They closed the door. So I was on the plane, but then we got delayed for an hour sitting in Atlanta airport. And I was like, like all that, all those heart palpitations basically got me on the plane. But anyway, I got on the plane, and then from there it was pretty smooth sailing. Went from, like I said, Atlanta to Amsterdam overnight. Like KLM's great, lie flat seats, relatively newer airplanes. And I didn't sleep, one bit on the flight. So at this point, it's like there are a 6-hour time difference essentially.
So how long was the flight to Amsterdam?
8.5 hours, actually almost 9 hours with delays, and or not with delays, with like the flight schedule that went through.
And, and you said you didn't sleep at all. So what does Jeff do on an 8.5 hour flight if he's not sleeping? What do you do?
I watched a lot of Netflix and listened to music. I did try to doze a little bit here and there, but it just wasn't working.
Okay.
I did watch the new Hulk movie, or not Hulk movie, Captain America movie with Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford.
Sure.
It was okay. So that was about 2 hours right there. And then I started watching stuff. I watched first episode of Black Mirror for this current season, which if you haven't seen Black Mirror, it's so good.
I haven't.
Made me rethink my idea about, AI and living forever in that kind of scenario. So the first episode was very interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much that. And then, they serve food and stuff like that. I did not do anything of value.
Okay. Well, right.
Didn't do any work.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It was like, at this point, I was like trying to sleep, but can't really, right? Whatever. But get to Amsterdam, get off the plane, it's tired at that point. Cause I don't really sleep on long flights anyway, like that. Get through security, passport control in Amsterdam. It's great because you're in the EU. Once you get into the EU, it's free. It's open borders for everybody who's in the EU. So, and there was no line for me as a visitor. So I just showed my passport. They saw it. Go on. I had about a 2-hour layover in Amsterdam. Went to the KLM lounge there, got a waffle, and just kind of sat there and just kind of recharged a little bit. And then, got on my flight to Berlin.
Okay.
Landed in Berlin around 6 p.m. local time. So this is Saturday, 6 p.m. And then went from the airport to the hotel in Berlin, where I stayed. Got there about 7, and was face down on the bed, sleeping by about 7:30. I think it was. And then basically slept most of the day, like Sunday. Got out, got some food a little bit, kind of walked around Berlin. It's first time Berlin, very cool city. We were staying in kind of the southeastern part, Alexanderplatz, for people who are familiar.
Okay.
Kind of a shopping area, and the TV tower is also there. So if you see like pictures of Berlin TV tower, basically I was staying like right next to that. Like I said, walked around, kind of took in the sights a little bit. It was chilly, like 50s, I would say. So, but not too bad. Food was great. And then was there Sunday, and then we had I had some work stuff that I had to do, basically Monday through Friday, and the work stuff went really well. It was kind of cool. Got some public recognition that I was totally unexpected for the work that I do in my field at this big conference. So that was kind of neat.
Nice.
And then that was the conference.
So what was the highlight of Berlin for you? Like you said you'd never been there before, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
The highlight at that point in the trip was how clean Berlin was.
Okay.
For a big city. I don't want to come off as being a globalist.
Yeah,
right?
No, sure.
But
you've been around, I know.
Europe has great cities, but Berlin was the cleanest one I had been to. Between Paris, London, et cetera, whatever it may be. But very clean, very walkable, which was very cool. You don't really need a car so much. So able to get around with the trains and stuff like that. Public transportation is top notch. The Berlin Central train station is amazing.
Okay.
Better than anything that I've seen ever in the US, especially for a train station. It would rival most airports that we have in the US.
Really?
Huge, nice, clean. Have you been to Ogilvy, Old TC Transportation Center downtown?
No.
That is like a third world train station compared to like Europe, basically. But they have all these services, restaurants and shops and stuff like that. And like I said, it's this huge thing. So I would say like the highlight at this point had been just the infrastructure of the cities. Was so much better than what I'm used to.
How about...
And the food was great too.
Okay. How about the people? I mean, were they friendly? Were they hospitable? Were they...
Yeah.
You ugly American, well... I mean, I don't know how they react us, so,
There is definitely some not American, but anti-Trump, for sure.
Sure.
A lot of people think Trump and Elon Musk are, like, literally Nazis. Like, they have signs with them with Nazis in
so you saw some
Germany.
of that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there is a far-right party called AfD in Germany that is associated with the Nazi party. They've actually been outlawed and banned by the government because of their extremist views and stuff like that. So if it gives you any hint of kind of where the world thinks the US right now is, they are 100% think Trump is an idiot.
Okay, interesting.
And is leading, this rise of, again, fascism was mentioned a whole lot of times. It was actually mentioned even in the conference that I was at. Trump was brought up specifically around the way that he is executing orders. Now, it wasn't just Trump. It was also the way that the executive administration for the U.S. government works. One of the talks was around basically tariffs and trade and technology. So this is a technology conference.
Sure.
A lot of the world uses services, cloud services from the U.S. like Microsoft, Amazon, Google Cloud, Oracle, etc. These are all U.S. businesses.
AWS.
Yeah. Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
Basically the biggest thing in the world. Like if you have any app that you're using online somewhere, it's probably running on one of those three, and most likely it's Amazon.
Yeah.
Netflix, et cetera, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
My work platform runs off AWS. So yeah.
Yep. So there you go. So now what was interesting is those are American companies, and with tariffs and trade agreements and things like that, there was a real concern about what happens if the U.S. turns off those services for countries that it doesn't want to do business with anymore or don't agree to terms, blah, 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 right? This whole tariff thing that's been going on. And so it was a lot about the resiliency of that, and how to basically pivot away from those American companies to not be a sole provider and a sole what was it, like failure, a link in the chain that might go bad.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so that was interesting. The other one was about the way executive orders work. And this was educational, I think, for a lot of people in the EU who don't understand how an executive order works for the US government. I think we've all at this point heard a lot about executive orders. Trump's been doing them like crazy amount, like hundreds compared to the dozens that typically a president will do. It has become a tool for administrations, not just Trump, but Trump, Biden, Trump, Obama, Clinton, right? All that, and Bush, all that stuff. It's been happening for a while. Essentially, it's a way to govern when you have the Congress, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, aren't able to collaborate and actually pass real laws.
Right.
So you govern by executive order, and it's basically, okay, well, here's what we're going to do because we don't have a law. And then you work through this challenge system if one exists through the judicial system. What's interesting about executive orders, and I don't think a lot of people know this, is when you issue an executive order, a lot of times they're made public and say, okay, here's going to go. They do not have to be public. And they can also be rescinded in private.
I did know that.
Without telling anybody.
Yeah, I did know that.
But I think a lot of people don't. Like they say, okay, well, this is a new executive order and it's a law. It is not a law. It is a direction from the president, but is not a law.
Right. It's not set
What's interesting for this was, and this opened up a lot of pies, so people kind of gasped when they heard this in the audience. And again, this is a predominantly EU audience, is that those executive orders, we say, like, let's say, hey, we agreed to this deal and we're going to issue an executive order and say we are going to comply with GDPR. Was it Global Data Protection Privacy Act, something for like the EU. We agree, we're going to do this. Now, what we can do behind the scenes and not tell anybody is we're rescinding that order. We are not going to comply with that. So on the public facing, everybody thinks we're doing it. Behind the scenes, the executive branch has said, no, we're not going to do that. Fuck that. And so that puts businesses in a precarious position, especially in the EU, where they take privacy and data way more seriously than we do in the US. They have actual laws, significant fines that get associated with violating these things that can happen. And so it was interesting to hear the European perspective of how they see the US currently being run. I don't want to turn this into a political episode, but it was not a good look for the US.
That's fair.
But it was not directed towards me. Right. It was not I think most people are able to draw the line between American citizen versus American government.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So the people were generally pretty friendly. And like I said, there was several people there that I had known already, from the US and so forth. But it was interesting to see that kind of worldview.
Yeah. How many people were at this conference?
I want to say maybe like 1,500.
Oh, okay. So it's like and from all corners of the world. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are people there from literally around the world.
Now,
so, not just EU, but
did you have anything that you were hosting, like a session or, I
didn't host anything. What we did is I do a podcast for my.
Yeah. Did you participate in a panel or anything like that?
No, I didn't. Kind of by design. I do a podcast for my real job.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of there as media in that regards.
Okay.
So I was kind of there on my own dime, representing my other podcasts that I do in this industry. And we partnered with the conference and stuff like that. So they gave us basically like the keynote stage where they did all the interviews. When it wasn't being used, I was on that stage filming interviews and recording interviews with, some of the brightest minds, in the space, which is kind of what I do on my other side. So that was very cool, but I didn't have anything official there. The only thing really I think I had to do was an Idena beer event, which is basically a beer gathering where we had a bunch of people who are like in this industry. Basically, they pick a beer garden somewhere and they say, hey, we're going to be here at this time. Anybody who wants to come join us, do it. You just kind of pay your own way. So did that. That was kind of cool. Met a lot of people who listened to my other work and, fans of the show and stuff like that. So super cool.
What did you get recognized for? I mean, if you can share that,
well, it was just the podcast itself. Like, hey, so-and-so and Jeff are here from the blah, blah, blah podcast. I don't kind of name it here, but
Right.
And I was surprised it was part of the keynote, and they kind of mentioned it, and we got cheers and claps from the audience, which was pretty cool.
Obviously,
a
lot of people knew who you guys are and you know what it's about. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, which is super cool. Like I said, and very kind of humbling and neat, and all the good stuff. And
it's always nice to be
definitely the worst. Yeah. The worst case scenario would have been like the MC announces it, and thankfully people started clapping and cheering like they were happy that we were there. The two other worst scenarios would be like silence, like who, or outright boo, you guys suck,
yeah.
But fortunately things went well, so it was a good first week there. Got to meet some of my work counterparts from Germany who also attended the conference. Kind of
very cool.
Showed me around the city and stuff like that, and it was super cool. But I liked Berlin a lot. I thought it was great.
I was going to ask you, would you go back just on for leisure and travel and vacation?
I don't know, only because my next stop was so good.
Okay, so we get through the work portion. Your wife shows up. She shows
up Friday.
Friday, meets you in Berlin, right?
Yeah, and meets me in Berlin.
And then the two of you head on over to Amsterdam.
That's right. Well, we spent a day in Berlin Saturday, kind of walking around. I set step counts records according to my Apple Watch for how far I walked the last couple weeks, which is good, right? Helps with the weight. So we hang around Berlin for a day, went and got some, German food, sat under, German pubs, kind of just toured this area, stuff like that. And then Sunday we took a train from Berlin to Amsterdam.
All right.
And that's like a 4-hour train, something like that.
Okay.
Now I had booked first class seats, and we were in one of those cars where, you remember the scene from Trading Places where they go into the train?
Oh yeah.
And they're like in that little private car kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that.
Okay.
It was me and my wife, and then there was someone who was already in there as well. So it wasn't like just the two of us. There was 6 seats. At one point there were 4 people in there, including my wife and I, so 4 of us in there. But that was fine. What sucked was it was hot. Like the air conditioning didn't seem to work, and there was no food or drink on the train for a 4.5 or 5 hour train.
5. Okay. Yeah.
So you needed to like plan for that in advance.
Yeah. And I'm assuming
my wife didn't. So she was very hungry and very thirsty by the time we got off the train a couple hours later. But we got to Amsterdam.
Probably a little ornery at this point.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It was kind of disappointing in that regards, but it was train, like whatever.
Yeah.
I would probably not do that again by train. I think I would just do a flight because it's like an hour flight versus a 4-hour train.
Sure.
But I was like, all right, let's go see the countryside, stuff like that. It's interesting to see how far there are on renewable energy out there, like tons of turbines, tons of solar panels, stuff like that, where they've got like everything hooked up, and things are working that way, and just beautiful countryside, green,
sure,
rolling hills and blah blah blah. Then we get to Amsterdam. It's about, I think I want to say like 7 o'clock or so. Get to Amsterdam Central Station, which is this massive building, looks like a castle almost from a distance. And then checked into our hotel, and then went and got tapas from a place down the street, and that started a week long Amsterdam trip, which was fucking awesome, dude.
Well, hey,
Amsterdam is my favorite city in the world by far.
I was gonna say, let's get into it. I've heard stories about Amsterdam and how awesome it is, but let's have it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say a bad thing about it. Like, the people were very welcoming. It's a very international city, so there are tons of cultures and food and people and languages, but you can get by there for sure with just English. You do not need to know Dutch or any other languages there. So English, and that made it very helpful. That was a lot different than Berlin. I think Berlin was more about 50-50, maybe 60-40. You could get by with a little bit of English.
Okay.
But you would definitely be better off if you knew German.
Sure.
But Amsterdam was much different. It was much more broader from a culture standpoint, but English is kind of like the default language for most people. Went to several museums, right? I can't pronounce it. Rijksmuseum. It's like a Dutch culture and and artists and stuff like that. The Van Gogh Museum, got waffles and crepes and chocolate and what else? Stroopwafels. Great drinks, great bars. My brother has been there a few times, so he gave me a couple places to go visit. So we went and did that. And it's a very walkable city. You should not have a car for that city.
Okay.
The public transportation is amazing there. You got trams, buses, and we had a pass basically that we had purchased ahead of time that would give us, free transportation, essentially public transportation. And we just use that. And there are bikes everywhere, man. Like you hear about bikes in Amsterdam. It is no joke, man. It is like everywhere. But the city's designed for it. Like they have actual like bike lanes and places to put it. You see them biking onto the train, the ferries, like all that stuff. But I just had a great time. Like it was so cool. There were so many things to see and do. Certainly the red light district was interesting.
I bet.
It is not limited to just a part of the town either. It can be kind of anywhere. So as you're walking in the streets of Amsterdam, anytime you see a red light, like literally a red light, like when you see something outside somebody's house, generally you'll see like a window and there may or may not be a girl in there who is, looking for business.
Sure.
So it was interesting. And the red light district has more of them, but as we discovered, I think a couple days after we had gone there, just kind of walking through, there was actually some closer to our hotel as well. So and they're they're spread throughout the city. It was really interesting. But yeah, it was super cool.
What was your wife's favorite part of Amsterdam?
I'm going to guess it was probably the Van Gogh Museum because she loves his work.
Sure. Got
to see the sunflower painting like there in real life.
Okay.
So we spent a lot of time there. And then I think we had a lot of like beverages, cocktails, and places that we went to. Then she had several good ones that she enjoyed. I'm not much of a drinker, but I had some really good mocktails and close similar things to that.
Yeah, no, I'm going
to guess it was probably Van Gogh.
Yeah, she's a cocktail person. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Then she also ran in a park one day, so she went to run around this Amstel Park. I didn't go that day. I was like, I'm sleeping in, so that was that. But Amsterdam was amazing. We did take a day trip from Amsterdam with a train to Bruges, and
which is in Belgium, correct?
In Belgium, yep. So we connected down from Amsterdam through Brussels to Bruges. Kind of a really small, kind of quiet town. Not quite what I was expecting, but it was fine. Kind of boring to some degree. Just kind of walked around there, and then we decided, okay, well, we're close to the North Sea. Let's just hop on the train and go see the North Sea. So we hopped on the train, and 10 minutes later, we're at the North Sea. In this little town of, I'm going to mess it up, Blankenberge or something like that. That was like Cold War Key West. That's the way I would describe it.
Okay.
Like it was empty. It was a little bit chilly, but there were still people on the beach, and they had like a bunch of stuff set up, and it just felt like a retirement community on the beach with high rises along the beach and nobody there. It was very interesting. Like just from where is everybody? It was a Wednesday, 3, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., whatever it was. But I felt like we were the youngest people there.
Sure.
So that was kind of interesting. And then we just took that we took a train from there, from Blankenberge, I think is Berge, to Brussels, hang out in Brussels for a little bit. Got a waffle with Belgian chocolate in the train station, which was amazing. And then took a train from there back to Amsterdam. And I did clock the train. We got up to 186 miles an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, the public transportation, linking all these countries in the area is pretty awesome.
So Amsterdam, you would definitely go back.
158% for sure. And so would my wife.
Nice.
It was so much fun. It was very cool. We just scratched the surface of it.
Okay. Because I know, you guys have been to Paris, you guys have been to London, all that. So Amsterdam is tops on the list, is what you're saying.
It used to be, I think, like San Diego used to be my favorite city in the world. San Francisco was for a while, and then it kind of got dingy and dirty. But Amsterdam is now by far my favorite place
Nice.
that I've ever been to. It is just super, super cool. You can get anything you want there. It is open almost 24 hours a day. So
Yeah, sure.
we saw live music. We went to bars, a bar called Belushi's of all places.
Okay.
So, sat there for a few hours, listening to local acts and musicians. And it was fantastic. The weather was absolutely perfect for the entire 2 weeks I was there. No rain. Amsterdam was warmer than Berlin. So it was kind of in between like 60 and like 70 degrees. Yeah. So it was like perfect. Shorts with maybe a hoodie, on top. And then, it was just perfect.
Okay. So let's talk about how do you get through 2 weeks with just a backpack and a carry-on? Let's get back to that. You got
to travel light. Uh-huh. So, it's compression cubes for your clothes.
Okay.
It's packing clothes that don't wrinkle as well. So synthetics, so polyester and stuff like that.
Like, did you do any laundry? I'm assuming no.
I mean, the most that I had to carry was underwear, basically change per day. And some people, I was talking with my brother this last night and he's like, I pack like, two. The rule is 2 pieces per day for underwear. I'm like, what are you doing, man? It's like, he's like, well, what happens if you shit yourself? I'm like, how often are you shitting yourself, man? You got other problems if that's what you're worried about. So, 14 pairs of underwear for 2 weeks and then a bunch of t-shirts and, polo shirts for stuff when I had to do stuff for work or stuff like that. But I didn't have to pack like a sport coat. Or,
right. Oh, well, that helps.
Jeans or like anything stuff like that. I actually brought more than I actually ended up using.
Okay.
But yeah, a couple pairs of pants, shorts, t-shirts, and compression cubes, roll it all up, Ranger roll, if people are familiar with that. Compress it down, throw it in there. And it was a heavy suitcase, tell you that, as I found out, toting it through the Atlanta airport at top speed. But no, and 1 pair of shoes. So shoes take up a lot of space. And so if you can find a pair of shoes that works with everything, or you can design your wardrobe around 1 pair of shoes, you're in good shape.
That's cool.
So
that's good.
Yeah, it was.
So
it was fantastic.
When did you get home?
Friday night. So,
so you've been home like 2 days.
Yeah. I got home basically 48 hours ago.
Okay. And were you like dead to the water yesterday or were you all screwed up on time? Or?
No, actually yesterday was pretty good. I did not sleep well in Berlin. Like the 6-hour time difference really screwed me up. And so I just didn't feel rested until like Thursday.
Sure.
I got there Saturday and I think I had my first good night of sleep was like Thursday.
Yeah.
And then everything was fine at that point. And then, I got home. So we got home like 7 or 8. We got delayed again coming fucking Delta back to Asheville here. But we got home, basically met my brother who was here and we're going to try have him on this show in a couple weeks. And then basically it was like, all right, it's good to see you. I'm going to bed. Again, face planted. My wife and I both were crashed that way. Now she slept a little bit on the plane. I actually worked on the planes. I was editing podcasts at 34,000 feet for about 7 hours between Amsterdam and Atlanta. But I was doing okay. Like I wasn't tired, but I think I played that one pretty well. Landed, got home, drove home. Of course, the Polestar had an error as soon as I got in the car. Once the airport, critical suspension. I'm like, dude, what critical suspension? You've been sitting here for a week, not doing anything. Like, how do you have an error? So, but whatever. It was a false error, which is so common with this piece of shit car. Get home, say hi to my brother. He was nice enough to make like Italian sausage and food and stuff like that. So had a quick bite and I was like, all right, good to see you. I'm going to bed. I will talk to you tomorrow. And then I was up at like 7 a.m. the next day and like I slept for like 10, 11 hours. No problem. And then my clock's back on track already.
Nice.
And then we hung around Asheville, went downtown, had dinner, drinks, and I just kind of hung up.
Well, sounds like a great trip, man. That's awesome.
Man, it was cool.
Yeah,
you got to travel. You got to see the world and just see how other countries do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't want to sound like I hate the U.S., but we have a lot of catching up to do in the areas that matter. Public transportation, the way that the government works. I mean, basic shit like that. it was super, super awesome. I would absolutely go back to Amsterdam for sure.
Nice. Well, that's good to know. As a guy who rarely gets out of Illinois, let alone the U.S., I will put it on the list.
We should go, man. Let's make a trip. Let's do it.
Yeah, if it wasn't so damn expensive, I would do it.
It is expensive, but it's one of those things you just don't forget. It really opens up your eyes to like, okay, here's the shit that matters.
Sure.
But just like I said, like just the other cultures and experience, like the food. I mean, dude.
Oh, believe me, I would.
Pancakes.
I would love to. I would love to.
Food is so good.
Yeah. Because as you can probably tell, I'm a food guy. I always have been. So
Yeah. Hey, food is life.
Food is good. Yes.
Yeah. I was at a nice restaurant in Berlin with some work colleagues, and we were having dinner at 10 p.m. This was after we had gone axe throwing. I forgot. We went axe throwing.
Oh, nice.
So that was pretty cool. I've done it once before.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of my technique.
Uh-huh.
The technique for axe throwing is not strength. It is all dexterity.
I've learned it's all in the wrist.
motion.
It's really all just a snap of the wrist.
That's it.
Yep.
So that was fun. And then we went to dinner after that, kind of walked through Berlin to this nice place. What was it called? Something Royal.
Okay.
Royal Kitchen or something like that. I don't know. So we sit down in this fancy place and we're ordering. I think I sent you a picture of the risotto. It was like a garlic leaf thing, super green. It was really good. But I remember looking up and there was a table across from us of probably the most beautiful people in the entire world I've ever seen, men and women sitting at this table.
Sure.
Right. And they were there before we got there and they were there after we left, which is probably about 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And I look over and they're eating steaks, and one of the girls has a little dog on her lap who has its own filet mignon steak, which was like a $60 steak at this place.
Yeah.
Or whatever, or a 60 euro steak. And he's just, she's just feeding him little pieces of his own steak at the table. And they're doing shots and they're like doing drinking games at the table. They were nuts, and it was funny and hilarious and just kind of interesting to watch. That table of like, I want to say 8 to 10 people, their bill had to have been in the thousands.
Really?
Because they were getting drinks,
sure,
food. They were there for hours.
Yeah.
They had to have been somebody. I don't know who they were. Didn't recognize anybody. But like I said, very beautiful people, men and women.
Yeah.
on this table. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, hey man, sounds like another trip of a lifetime. So very cool.
Yeah, good times. I'm looking forward to it next year. I think this might end up being like a routine thing for.
I was going to ask you if they do. Is the conference in Berlin every year?
It has been for the last few years. I don't know if it'll stay there long term, but if it gets me away into the EU and then I can go other places.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm thinking Munich or maybe Oslo or something like that, Denmark or Norway or whatever.
Yeah.
So kind of had to pick, with a week. We originally had these grand plans of like going all over the place and say, all right, like I don't want to be on a train or a plane the entire time. Let's just pick a spot and let's just go.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to going back for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that part of the time while you were in, while you were in Berlin, I was in the great city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Why?
Spent a glorious 4 days in Sioux Falls because that was my son Jeremy's last baseball series, college baseball game, and that's because they were on the road. That is also where he graduated. So he is now done with school, done with baseball, and in the job search mode right now. But he's home, and yeah, it's good. We had, was it my dad, my sister, Justin joined us there, and we spent the better part of 4 days in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So yeah, it was fun.
That's good. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was cool because Jeremy, his last 2 years of baseball, didn't really play a whole lot, right? He was on a team, and was kind of like a bench guy, practice guy, warm the other guys up guy, blah, blah, blah. But it was really cool because he was a senior. His coach actually played him in all 3 games while we were there.
Mhm.
And I think, what was it, in 11 at bats, he had 6 hits, scored a couple times, drove in a couple runs, most hits on his team for the entire weekend, which was really cool. But what really got me was the last time he gets a hit in the 9th inning of the 3rd game. It's late in the day. We're losing. We're going to lose the game, blah, blah, blah. But he gets a single, and coach pinch runs for him, and he comes off the field kind of ceremoniously, if kind of thing. He came off the field, and Jeff, I've never seen this happen where a bench guy got so much attention. He came off the field to a standing ovation from everybody in the crowd that was from Minnesota, from our team. And it darn near brought me to tears. I could not believe it. It was so cool. And, to see my kids smile on the field one last time after a very kind of frustrating 2 years baseball wise was really neat to see. So well worth going to Sioux Falls, because Sioux Falls honestly kind of sucks, but it was just a cool moment in his life. It was a cool moment that I'll never forget. And it was awesome. So
That's awesome, man. That's a great feeling when you get that recognition, especially if you put on that hard work and all that time.
Yeah. And it was one of those where he, like I said, he didn't get a lot of chances from his coach, and he was kind of, not too thrilled about it. And it was kind of indirect FU, if you will, to come out and really finally show what he could do. And there were some awkward moments between him and his coach at the end and all that kind of stuff. And, just kind of, cause I think his coach kind of knew that he blew it. He never really gave him a shot,
give him a chance.
Thing. Yeah. But, Jeremy was content with it. He was fine. He was happy with how it ended. He got a lot of attention from his teammates. And like I said, the standing ovation from the fans was just awesome. And it's just nice to be validated. And he walked off the field knowing that, what, I know I can play baseball. And that was cool. That was really neat to see.
That's good.
So,
yeah. So what's next?
Well, like I said, he's job searching right now. He's got, interviews scheduled. He's got applications out there. The job market isn't all that great, but he's out there competing with every other college graduate for position. He's looking to probably stay in Chicago for at least a year while his girlfriend finishes up her senior year at Kansas next year, and then they'll go from there. So, he's just looking to work. So yeah, he's here, and like I said, interviews. So that's what he's doing.
That's good.
He'll find something.
Good luck.
Yeah, he'll find something. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's pretty resourceful.
How was like the actual, like the was there like an actual graduation ceremony?
It was cool because what they did in between they played a game on Friday and then 2 games on Saturday. And in between the games on Saturday, they had a little mini ceremony for the seniors where they called each one of them up, announced their name, graduating, with a degree and whatever. And, they all got a kind of their own little walk. They walked from the dugout to home plate, got their picture taken. And then we got a nice picture of all the seniors on the team, with the coaches and stuff. So it was like a mini ceremony type thing. I mean, kind of really informal, but it was nice. It was nice that the other school was willing to do that for them, and that
cool.
was neat. So
do you think that was something they coordinated then, sounds like, with like the other team?
I think so. Yeah.
Were there any players from the other team that were like part of that, or was it just
No, it was just our guys, because the other team, they were playing at home, so they had their, normal graduation ceremony. But it was cool was the administration of that school is the one that kind of put it all together.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was well done. It was very well done.
Good.
So that was cool.
Good.
But unfortunately, they didn't make the playoffs. They missed the postseason tournament, so their season ended. And we drove home. So I don't know.
Oh, that sucks. But
yeah,
what are you gonna
do? Yeah, but it was fun. But I think it ended at the right time. I think Jeremy was ready to be done. He's definitely ready to be done with school. But diploma's coming in the mail, and Yeah, that'd be nice. So he's ready to move on with the next part of his life. And yeah, we'll go from there.
All right. We're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Cincinnati. We're on to something. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, so that was the big deal going on in my house. Let's see. Joshua's team was eliminated in the regional finals for playoffs, so he's done with baseball for the year. He's playing in a couple summer leagues because he's still trying to, get ready for next year, and he's got one more year at JJC, and then he'll move on to whatever's after that. So he's trying to find himself a deal at a 4-year school to continue playing. So he's doing that. He's got his car detailing business up and running. He's doing like 4 or 5 details a week. So that's good. And that's what he's hoping to be solely his summer job. So, we'll see how it goes.
Well, good. Sounds like it's all turned. Another one off the payroll.
That's right.
Hopefully.
Well, hopefully he's got to find a way off the payroll first. But yeah. But no, it's good. It's good to have him home. He's excited to be home. I just played golf with the two of them a couple hours ago. They beat me again.
How'd you shoot?
I shot a 48 for 9 holes, which for me is really good.
That's pretty damn good. Yeah.
Yeah. They both shot 46.
Okay.
And they're pretty good golfers. I will say that. And they, this is a sport they picked up probably in the last 2 years, I would guess. But they're both really good, and it's really not easy to keep up with them. But yeah, I was thrilled with how I played today. So it was good.
Well, good.
Yeah.
What was your best shot of the day?
My best shot of the day was probably a 4-iron that I hit on, God, I guess it would be the 8th hole. I hit it, or no, I'm sorry. It was the 9th hole, actually. Second shot out of the rough, and it was like deep rough on a hill where I was standing probably, on an uphill. So the ball was probably about level with my waist based on where I was standing. So it was kind of an awkward hit. I hit it and probably put it within 15 feet of the hole. So nice. Yeah, on the last hole, I 3-putted the hole, but
I was gonna say, then did you 2-putt or
no? I 3-putted the hole, but that's okay. But no, that was a good one. My driver was working today. I really struggle with irons. I have for a long time, and today it started to come together. So that was good. And as I told the boys, I'm like, I'm just looking to be consistent. I'm not looking to be Tiger Woods. I'm not looking to hit birdies and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't want to have that hole where you turn in like a 9 or a 10, where you have that disaster of a hole. And that didn't happen to me today. So that was good. I played golf in South Dakota with my oldest, Justin, and shot 46 there. Now, granted, I rented a set of clubs. These clubs were brand spanking new and cost probably somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000. The clubs I play with are 100% used. I've had them probably since I was about 15. So I've never treated myself to a new set of golf clubs. I want to, but I've never been able to really justify the cost because for the longest time I didn't even play. And I never played enough to be good, but now that the boys are getting into it, I'm starting to play a little more often. So I think maybe some point this year I will be able to justify buying new clubs. It's fun.
Well, the new clubs. So that's the key to your good game, right? You can't play well until you have new clubs.
That's right. Well, at first, because I shot the 46 in South Dakota, there I was like, oh wow, oh man, it's the clubs. But I shot 48 today with my clubs, so they're like, maybe it's not the golf equipment, it's the golfer. And I'm like, all right, guys, I don't know if it's the golfer just yet, but no, I played well today. It was fun. It was a good time.
Okay, well, good.
So yeah,
Did you ever take lessons for golf?
I have never taken a golf lesson in my life ever. I used to play. When I was a kid, we used to hit balls on the Little League fields. All you had to do was hit the backstop. There was like this like the way the fields were set up, it was like in a triangle, and we just went from one corner to the other of the triangle, and balls would just be flying all over the place. I mean, we hit balls in people's garages, we hit cars, we hit. I think a friend of mine busted a window once, so we weren't all that great. And then played a little bit in high school with a buddy of mine, and then I know we played a couple times way back when. And then, I went the longest time without playing. I played once in a while for work, played once in a while with some friends of mine when I had time. But now that the boys are into it, our goal is to play. They probably play 2 or 3 times a week. Our goal for me, is to play like once a week. So that's enough for me.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I played golf. Might have been. The last time I played golf might have been with you.
Yeah, I remember we played the morning of my wedding. I remember that.
Yeah. Yep. That might have been the last time I played. I mean, I've done top golf here and there. Once in a while, and that's about the only golf that I'll get into these days. But it's been a long time. No, it's funny. I took lessons when I was in high school, so I learned how to hit irons.
Okay.
But I stopped, and I never learned how to hit the wood clubs. So I cannot hit a driver or any of the woods for anything.
Okay.
But I can hit the irons, no problem.
I can pound a driver pretty well. The irons for the longest time I struggle with, watching YouTube, I watch the pros and all that stuff. I'm like, God, how do they do it? And for me, it's positioning of the feet. That's what I have figured out. If I position my feet right, I'm good to go. If I don't, I'll duff it and hit it maybe 10 feet, if that. So, but
keep your head down.
Yeah, head's got to be down. And the other thing is I have to learn to trust the position of my feet, because I'm like, if I have my feet there, I know I'm going to swing and miss, and I just have to trust myself. So
you start overthinking it. It's like, shuffle around a little bit. Yeah.
So, but today was good. We had a great time, a lot of fun. So,
well, good. That's good.
Yeah. And then,
so what happened in the world of sports? Because I feel like I've been unplugged for the last couple of weeks. I know that there were several noteworthy activities that I'm sure we've been dying to talk about.
Sure. Well, here, I'll hit the quick stuff. I mean, you had Cubs versus Sox here in Chicago this weekend. Cubs basically dominated as expected. They won all 3. They were, kind of predicted to win all 3. As far as the White Sox go, I want to say they're better than last year, because they're playing better than last year. You're seeing some of their minor leaguers start to come up and start to produce, and the record's still pretty ugly, but I think they're better than last year. I'll tell you what, though, this Cub team is for real. If barring a colossal tank or a colossal losing streak or whatever, they're destined for the playoffs for sure. And that's a good thing. I mean, there's a lot of Cub guys that are hot right now. And this is despite them missing 2 out of their 5 starting pitchers, which sucks. And one guy's going to be out all year, Justin Steele, but they'll get Imanaga back. And, but they've been piecing it together, and, their offense is just relentless. So that's a good thing. So we had Cubs Sox. The Blackhawks draft is coming up. They got the number 3 pick, so that's good. NHL playoffs are still happening. NBA playoffs are happening, obviously minus the Bulls, and they struck out in the lottery. They have pick number 12, so they will remain in basketball hell for yet another year. Mm-hmm. And Bears had rookie minicamp, which all signs were they had a really nice draft. I think a lot of these guys are actually going to make the team, which is good. There are rumors out there that the Bears could be trading for what's his name, Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals.
Because he's not happy with his contract or whatever.
He is not happy with his contract in Cincinnati. So it'd be interesting to see what it would take to get him.
Isn't there already a Bear that is not happy with the contract? One of the offensive line they traded for? Maybe I was thinking something else.
I didn't hear that.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I don't know if it was real or not, but I knew there was a player that was unhappy. Maybe that's Trey Hendrickson.
I know that, let's see, they obviously signed Dahlman. They extended that Jonah Jackson for another year after they got him. And I know they're working on getting an extension for Tooney.
Maybe it's Tooney.
Maybe it's
thought I saw some headline that he's not happy about it.
Yeah, and maybe he just doesn't have the extension that he's looking for just yet. So I think it's coming. It's just a matter of when. But the big story, and it irritates me that it's a story. I understand it's the media and this is their job and stuff, but why now? Why is this coming out now? So apparently it has come out that Caleb Williams and his dad were trying to do whatever they could to avoid being drafted by Chicago.
I mean, I can't fault the guy.
I can't.
the way we develop quarterbacks.
I can't.
I mean, that's the smart pro move, but yeah.
Yeah, the coaching staff was shit. The team basically was crap. And yeah, I think any player of substance, worries if they're going to be drafted that high, where they're going to go, Caleb has now publicly said, hey, I visited the Bears, and once I visited them, it was cool. We were all in. It was all good. The story seems to be the dad. So
yeah, I read that article. It was on ESPN or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a book. It's almost like, hearsay. It's like telephone game. Who knows?
Right.
But like any good story, there's probably some truth somewhere behind the scenes.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Right? I mean, they said that they had Caleb Williams watching film by himself, without any coaches, trying to break stuff down and learn things. And, if that's true, then God, I'm glad they fired Eberflus. I'm glad they got rid of Shane Waldron. I'm glad that whole freaking regime is out of here. It's not how you run an NFL team.
Well, I would find it really hard to believe that there was no group film study. And I think maybe this is a situation of, again, a telephone game is okay. Well, did anybody show Caleb what to be looking for from an NFL film package, right? Like what he should be doing. That part we don't know, but I would find it very, very difficult to believe that there wasn't a quarterback's room and they weren't going over game film, all week as a group. Right.
Well, the way I see it is, look, that's all in the past. They've got supposedly a real head coach. They've got, real position coaches that they really like. They did sign a veteran quarterback to be in the room to help, which they didn't have last year. I mean, it was Caleb and Tyson Bagent, and then a practice squad QB, Austin Reed, I think is his name. And that was it. But now you've got Case Keenum in the room. I think Bagent will be back. And if they carry three, whatever. But it's a different world, it seems to be, in Bears land right now. And that's good. I mean, everybody's
off-season champs.
That's right.
We'll take it.
That's right. Everybody's excited. I know the schedule came out. They
have one of the hardest schedules in the league.
They do have a tough schedule. I think, what is it? They open up on Monday Night Football against the Vikings. They play, I think it's the Lions the second week and then the last week. So, I forget some of their non-divisional opponents, but yeah, I mean, they play Dallas, they play Pittsburgh, I think they play San Francisco. I think if you run through the schedule, a lot of people are saying 9-8, 8-9, a couple of people said 10-7. There's, again, I think there is a path to 11 wins. I'm not going to say that that's where they're going to get there. There's a lot of unknowns, obviously. So, they got to stay healthy. They got, obviously Caleb's got to obviously take a huge step in the second year. I think he'll have the playbook to do that. He's got the guys to do it with, and it could be exciting. Hopefully it's not a colossal failure. So,
Well, Vegas has the Bears at 8.5 wins on the season.
Yeah, it's about.
Which is pretty far down the list.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at the strength of schedule, and the teams with the hardest schedule in 2025 are the Giants, the Browns, Lions, Eagles, and Vikings.
Okay.
Why would you do that to the Giants and the Browns? They're already bad. Like, how does that make sense?
Yeah.
I can kind of understand, the Lions, Eagles, Vikings, obviously, because they've been good, right? You want competitive football, but
Sure.
How do the Giants and the Browns end up with the hardest schedules in the league?
I don't know. I mean, what is it? Obviously, it's based on the division they play. And then what is it? Don't they rotate the other divisions that they play throughout the, every so often? I guess it just happens to be what the schedule is, what it is. I mean, I don't know, but
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know, just maybe it's just a scheduling fluke or whatever. But
yeah,
man, that's tough because neither team is good. So
no. But what the beauty of the NFL is, there is no draft lottery. So, you tank, you don't win, you just stockpile draft picks and keep working. So,
or you trade them away for
whatever, and hopefully things work out. And yeah.
Nope. All right. So,
but yeah, other than
NFL.
that, it's kind of you're heading into the dog days of summer with the baseball that doesn't really get that important until later.
I still think there's way too many games of baseball.
A lot of people do, and I get that. The owners will never switch from it because obviously it's revenue, but baseball really doesn't become exciting until maybe the trade deadline, which is the end of July, and then game-wise, probably the month of September is when baseball gets exciting, and that's when football's starting anyway. So, at least in Chicago, the Bears suck, or not the Bears, the Bulls suck, the Hawks suck, and the Sox suck. So there's not a whole lot to follow right now.
Yeah, right now it's the Cubs and it's the Bears only through Caleb Williams' excitement.
Yeah, well, the other Bears thing that just came out, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I don't know if you saw this, but looks like Arlington Heights is pretty much where they're going to go.
Back on the menu. I don't know. I won't believe things till I see it. I feel like it's still political theater and gamesmanship and trying to figure out, if the city wants to do anything. I mean, does anybody really care where they play?
I think the people that live in Chicago, I think they do. I think they would hate to lose that team because I think a lot of people who live in the city, can take the train. They can walk to the games. I mean, it's their team.
They can still take the train to Arlington.
They can.
There's literally a train stop right outside of it.
I don't think it'll be as easy to get there, but, I think they'll say, the Chicago Bears belong in Chicago. I mean, how many teams don't play in the actual city that they're labeled as? There's a ton.
They're nearby.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I mean, economically, right, I think it would be a problem for the city of Chicago. But if you're a fan or just a casual spectator, right, you're not the city, you're not the organization, you're just you and me. Do you care where they play in the Chicago area?
No,
I don't.
I don't. And I think the team ultimately they want a state-of-the-art, big-ass, awesome stadium that's going to get them a Super Bowl, that has all the bells and whistles, that has all the hotels, all the restaurants, all the retail, everything, make it a destination. So, like I said, they get Super Bowl, perhaps a Final Four, concerts, just the best of everything, ultimately. But
they don't want to pay for it. They want government. You and me, well, you, I don't live there anymore, but you to pay for it.
I think the team is committed. I think the team is committed like $2 billion on it. The project I read, they're saying it's going to cost about 4.9. Obviously, they don't want the taxpayers to pay for it. The governor has said the taxpayers are not going to pay for it. The governor has said that we're not providing money. We're not in the business of building stadiums for sports teams. And, I'm not a huge fan of Pritzker, but that is one thing I do agree with him on. I don't think the public should pay for that. I don't. And I think they need to find a way to fund it themselves. You want a new stadium? Build it yourself. That kind of thing.
Well, I think if the public pays for it, it's a public property.
Yeah.
Which means it's for the benefit of the public, the people of Illinois, Chicago, wherever city it ends up in, right? Versus the exclusive benefit of any sports team.
Well, yeah. And the problem is they haven't finished paying for the renovation that they did to Soldier Field. They're still paying for that.
Yeah.
which we all know is kind of a shit show.
Yeah. I haven't been to many NFL stadiums, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not,
Well, what sucks
whatever.
is Soldier Field, I think, is the smallest stadium in the NFL. And once you get inside there, and granted, it's been a long time since I've been in there, but once you get inside, it's really cool. It's a nice place to watch a football game. To look at it from the outside, you know, you got the architecture of Old Soldier Field, and it looks like a freaking spaceship landed in it. That's what it just looks weird. But whatever. But
well, they were trying to keep the columns, right? It was the whole thing about
they're trying to
keep the past and
what is it, the national landmark status that Soldier Field has and all that kind of thing. But they can't host or do things that they want to do because it's not big enough. And
well, who's they?
The Bears, the NFL. Okay. I mean,
well,
imagine a Super Bowl.
Then the NFL should pony up and pay for it.
Well, I think you
want a stadium to do your things. What do? You go buy it. You don't ask the government to pay for that.
The NFL, I think, can participate in that, and I think there's money available to teams for a new stadium. I have no idea how much it is. I know the NFL won't fork over all of it, but I mean, let's be real. A Super Bowl in Chicago would be pretty darn cool. I mean,
oh yeah. I mean, obviously there's an economic benefit for that for the city.
Yeah.
But you know, unless there's a guarantee that there will be a Super Bowl there and the projections for the revenue that may come to the city because of that would be, you know, something, but you don't spend $5 billion without guarantees of what you're going to get.
Oh, 100%. I don't think the NFL would approve a new stadium for them or support a new stadium for them without the guarantee of, you build it, we'll give you a Super Bowl within 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure
something like that.
I'm
there
sure
has to be some.
I'm sure that's part of the deal. I mean, they built the stadium in Minnesota. The Super Bowl went there. They built the stadium in Los Angeles. The Super Bowl went there. I think the Super Bowl has either already been or it's going to Vegas at some point. So it has happened. But now you're also talking, you know, if you're going to host a Super Bowl, it's got to be inside. And so the Bears Stadium needs to either have retractable roof or be a dome because of the winter, you know. They tried a Super Bowl in New York and it wasn't all that great. So,
I mean, I love seeing, you know, terrible. The worse the weather, the better.
Oh yeah, I do too. I do too. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love football, but I mean, you know, snowy football or rainy football, that. But you know, if it's a Super Bowl, you know, they want, you know, perfection. So.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't care where they play. Football's football. I'm going to watch it on TV. You know,
right.
99% of the time anyway. So who cares? Yeah. Let the rich people, you know, buy their shit.
Yeah. They've been talking about this damn stadium for almost 2 years. They've been fighting over where it's going to go. It's going to take at least 3 years to build. So we're not going to see a darn thing till probably the 2028, 2029 season. There's some chances that I might not even live here anymore when that happens. So, right. You know, I don't really care. It'd be cool, but exactly. Whatever.
It's a 1%er problem.
Exactly. And I'm not part of that 1%. That's for sure.
Nope. Me neither.
So. But yeah, man, other than that, not much going on. My kids, the kids baseball team that I coached, they won 2 games today. So that was cool.
Yeah.
That was fun. We had, so Friday night, we looked like dog shit. Effort was bad. We made errors. The kids didn't seem to care. It was so awful. And I'm like, oh my God. So the 3 coaches, me included, kind of got in their rear a little bit, you know, and it was, you know, there was some heart to heart, you know, hey, you need to figure out if you want to play, what is going on, blah, blah, blah. And then we came out Saturday morning. I'm like, all right, we're going to turn it around based on what we said. And we crapped the bed again. Same score, same errors, same everything. I'm like, oh my God. Luckily today they turned it around. Everything came together. They won 2 games and hopefully, you know, it's a big turning point in the season. So, but yeah, God, coaching 13-year-olds. Oh my God. It's like coaching.
So what are they what do they do in those scenarios? Like, how do you, like, do they care? Are they kind of like, some care, some are like, yeah, whatever. Like,
that's what we're trying.
How do you motivate?
That's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out what the issue is. Like, so you'll notice like lack of effort. Like, fly balls will be hit and kids won't go after them. They won't get aggressive. They'll let them bounce and, or we'll not feel the ground ball and then we'll not, we'll throw the ball away. It's like, what the hell's going on type stuff. And how do you motivate? One of my other coaches motivates by telling them how bad they are and how bad they are performing and how we need to change everything and they need to change their attitudes, all that kind of stuff. I took the approach of trying to make them feel guilty and take the approach of, hey, I obviously have missed the boat. I have failed you guys. I have not done enough to get you guys ready to play. I own it. It's essentially my fault. And I'm trying to make them feel bad to where they go home and think about, God,
they've let Jay down. Coach Jay.
Yeah. Because I like to think that I'm Mr. Positive. I'm the motivator. I'm the let's go guy. I don't get mad very often, but I'll admit Friday night I was pissed. And, it's like, guys, we're capable of so much more. The ability's there. You got to get it together between your ears. That's what matters. And they did that today, and the kids were happy. Coaches weren't going to have a heart attack, so it was a positive day for that.
Wow, playing mind games with 12-year-olds?
With 13-year-olds. I know.
Okay.
But yeah, right. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I love it. It's fun. But you got parents paying thousands of dollars to do this kind of thing. And when the kids don't perform, the parents tend to blame it on the coaches. Like, you guys haven't done enough. You guys don't practice enough. You guys need to, we're paying good money, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm afraid would eventually happen if we kept losing the way we've been losing. But luckily, we kind of turned it around today. So it's good. Because, everything is somebody else's fault. So.
Right. Sometimes the fall is just not good enough. Sorry.
I know. But no, today was a good day. So between the baseball and the golf, I had a good day today. So it's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't brought up the really big news in baseball that I figured for sure you'd have an opinion on.
Well, yes. Okay. So the last thing that's going on, obviously, huge decision by baseball commissioner Rob Manfred to reinstate Pete Rose and make him eligible to go into the Hall of Fame. Now, Pete Rose, as we know, has passed away. My opinion is I always thought Pete, based on his achievements as a player, belonged in a Hall of Fame. Definitely Hall of Fame caliber player. He's the league leader in all-time hits, all-star at, I think, 5 different positions. So obviously, a great all-time player. His gambling problem happened while he was a manager. And that ultimately took him out of the game. Got suspended, got kicked out, was never, supposed lifetime ban. So he passes away, what was it, about 3 months ago, roughly 3-4 months ago.
Recent, yeah.
And now he's eligible to be put in the Hall of Fame. I think it's actually the ultimate insult to put him in the Hall of Fame now. The man is gone. Would it be important to his family? Sure. Would it validate the game maybe a little bit more? Yes. But it's like this guy, ever since he retired, was dying to get into the Hall of Fame. He would go to the Hall of Fame every year when they had the induction ceremony, and he would sit outside, sit at a restaurant somewhere, sign autographs, meet people, all that stuff, but he could never be part of the actual ceremonies. Mm-hmm. But now he could have, but he's gone. So I think it's kind of insulting to do it now, but that's where we are. I hope they do it. for his family and his legacy and things like that. But yeah, I think it's kind of a slap in the face, in my opinion.
Well, it was a lifetime ban.
Yeah.
And so the life is over. So the ban is over.
That's fair.
I don't have an opinion either way. I get he was a good player. He was banned for gambling. Mm-hmm. And there are repercussions to things like that. And gambling on sports is one of, in any sport, if you're a player or a manager, is like, one of the most frowned upon things you can do.
Apparently it's like the number one rule.
Okay. And any sport, right? Not just baseball.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Oh, believe me, like I said, he's a Hall of Fame player for what he did as a player. However, I think the punishment made sense. You can't gamble as a manager. I mean, granted, he always supposedly, I don't know if it's ever been proven, but supposedly he always bet on his team to win. But that affects your decision making as a manager when you know you got money on the game,
Yep.
So I understood it when it happened, but again, if you're gonna leave him out, then leave him out. That's my opinion.
Well, it's a powerful deterrent, right? So if you knew that if you got busted for betting on sports, right, whatever it is, and you're in that position, is there a more powerful deterrent than knowing that you will never be eligible for during your life? Now, if it happens after your life, whatever.
Right. Obviously,
that person will never experience that joy of being inducted into, a Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. It's a really powerful deterrent.
It is, because obviously he's essentially been made an example of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's never been another person banned for gambling, point shaving or tanking or whatever that happened. I mean, that's another part of this story, actually, is that a guy from the guys from the 1919 White Sox who supposedly
the Black Sox scandal.
Yeah, Black Sox scandal. All those guys are also now eligible for the Hall of Fame. And famously, Joe Jackson was supposedly innocent of blowing the games, but he was part of the group, so he also got the lifetime ban. But his ban has been lifted as well. Obviously, you do the crime, you do the time, right? Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, but him being in the Hall of Fame, whatever. I guess if he gets in, talking about Pete Rose again, if he gets in, he gets in. I'm okay if he's left out, but most likely they will find a way to put him in.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know. I think the lifetime ban is over because the lifetime is over. So
it's fair.
And I'm looking at it, just purely from the lens of the outside. I don't care really either way. The closest I've come to Pete Rose was seeing him somewhere in the shops in Mandalay Bay, sitting by himself with nobody, mm-hmm. getting signatures when I was out there for a conference. And now I would see him every year out there, same spot. I would go to the same conference and he'd be there. And, maybe I'd see like one or two people kind of come in and stuff like that. But, this is, like you said, it's an example. This is, it's the death sentence for any player or, affiliated person, right, with a sport is you do not gamble on the sport.
Right.
He broke it. And now he paid the price.
The funny thing is, if you actually go to the Hall of Fame, and I've been there, he's all over the inside of the Hall of Fame. His jerseys are there, his bats are there, his gloves are there. He's got pictures and things that he did. The only thing that's missing is the plaque that says he is enshrined as a Hall of Famer, mm-hmm. which is interesting. So,
yeah, well, like I said, it's the death sentence. Don't do it.
Yep.
And I mean, you can't even. Like, there are very few penalties in sports that carry that much weight. I mean, look at, PEDs. People are still doing them, and they're still getting caught. So the threat of a ban for games played is not enough because people are still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys obviously that did PEDs that are not in the Hall of Fame that probably should be, or they would have been had that not happened.
Right.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
But even now,
yeah.
But there's still players today, right, that are getting
there
banned
are guys
for
that get
PED.
suspended for 80 games. That's the the first level suspension, all that kind of stuff.
And they know the risks and they're doing it. And I don't know what the maximum. Can you actually get suspended from baseball completely?
Yes,
keep doing it?
I think if you are, what is it? The first time I think is 80 games. The second time is a full season, and the third time you're done.
So there's a 3-strike rule.
Yeah, it's basically 3 strikes, you're out. But as we know, there are guys, who knows what kind of career Barry Bonds would have actually had if he never used PEDs.
Yeah.
Or Mark McGwire if he never used steroids, or Alex Rodriguez.
Or Sammy Sosa.
Allegedly,
right.
All these guys, who knows really what their careers would have turned out to be had they not done that. My opinion on that is you still have to be able to put the bat on the baseball, which is a very difficult thing to do. And most PEDs have to do with guys' recovery as opposed to performance. It helps them recover.
Well, it definitely helps with the strength, though, too, right? So it turns a warning track, fly
it can
into a home run, theoretically.
It can.
Right? I guess my point is, if they really wanted to solve for it, they would not do a 3-strike rule.
I agree.
They would make it if they want it out of the sport, then ban people from, if you get caught, you're out and you'll never make the Hall of Fame.
Right. That stuff is collectively bargained.
It is. And so it'll never happen.
No, the players union is probably not going to say we don't want a one time, busted out rule. May go to 2 one day. Obviously they test randomly, which is a good thing. Which is how they do catch guys. I think it's gone down, but yeah, it's still out there for sure. And
I think make the decision. Do you want it in the sport or not?
Well, right. It's kind of
I don't care. I want to see. I liked having McGwire and Sosa hit all those runs. It's the only reason I paid attention to baseball.
It saved baseball after the strike. I mean, know, and a lot of people would agree with that. Be like, I don't care if these guys want to destroy their bodies and in the long term for short term gain, whatever. Who cares? But a lot of baseball purists, including my father, are like, no way. I don't know. So,
Well, you definitely have to think about like records and things like that. I think if you enter that era of, hey, it's not just swept under the rug, it's now legal, or maybe even if it's not illegal, then the opposite becomes true. It is encouraged.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I mean, there's a lot of people who still don't recognize Barry Bonds as the all-time home run leader. They still think it's Hank Aaron. They still think it's, what is it, in a single season? They still say it's Roger Maris. And even though both Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa have all surpassed Roger Maris, and I guess technically it would be Aaron Judge because he hit, 62 home runs, I think it was 2 years ago. So they don't actually recognize, the general public doesn't necessarily recognize the records as they are. So, it's a weird dynamic that goes on in baseball. I don't think it's thought about every day as you sit there and watch the game. It's like, okay, who's on drugs and who's not? But yeah, it's out there. It's definitely out there. So it doesn't bother me. I'm a diehard baseball fan. And at first it did, but I got used to it. I got used to the idea of it. And I got used to, these guys perform at such a high level now. If they're willing to do that and put their bodies essentially at risk, then that's their business. People pay big money to see guys hit homers. People pay big money to see guys throw 100 miles an hour. That's entertainment to people. So these guys are willing to do it. They get paid very handsomely for it. So
yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, billions of dollars. they're making off some of these contracts are hundreds of millions, soon to be probably billions. I wonder when we'll see our first $1 billion contract, because the MLB seems to be leading the way in paying players.
I don't think,
which is, I don't understand at all.
Yeah. And with deferred money, I think at some point we will see a $1 billion contract. I don't know how soon, but we will see one. So it'll be interesting. It's a lot of money, but there's some stuff they need to figure out, because they're looking at a potential work stoppage at the end of next year. And I think what's going to be involved is, I think you might finally see a baseball salary cap, which might help get teams not to get to $1 billion of contracts and try to even out the playing field a little bit. But, I don't know.
I just don't understand where they're coming up with this money, because baseball is just not as popular as it used to be. And yet they seem to have the most exorbitant contracts. So that doesn't make any sense to me.
Let's take the Dodgers, for example. You've got, maybe that this might not be.
Talking about this, right? They have Japan and the U.S. markets, but still, baseball is just not as popular as it used to be.
I know, but a team like the Dodgers, you get roughly 45,000 people a night for 81 games a season. They all buy the gear, they all buy the food, they all buy, the TV package,
concessions and tickets and all that stuff.
All the shit that comes with it. I mean, these teams generate billions of dollars in revenue, and the money, plus you've got the TV contracts that the networks pay to broadcast this stuff. Now, granted, a lot of teams are now going to their own networks, so they have their own streaming networks and stuff. So it's all sponsorships and all that jazz, and there's revenue sharing amongst the teams. So the big guys have to share with the little guys, supposedly. But it's just billions and billions of dollars. Like the Ohtani contract, I guarantee you that the Dodgers, even though they're paying him $700 million over the next 10 years, I guarantee you the Dodgers already have it. They already have that $700 million. If they wanted to pay him today, I think they could.
Yeah. Well, that's to say it has to, because it has to go into escrow or something.
Right.
Like you would be stupid to take a contract without guarantee of payment somewhere. Right. Okay, fine. If you don't want to pay me right away, you want to keep, liquid finances, whatever, but you better make sure you had that money in a bank somewhere where if something happens.
Well, I think we talked about that. There. I think with deferred money, there's a rule that you have to have
a certain percentage in escrow or whatever it may be, right?
For each year, you have to have that money in the bank ready to go within 2 years, something like that. You can invest it and have it grow, but you have to have that money allotted to or allocated to Shohei or whoever. So,
right.
And as we've talked about, the Dodgers have over $1 billion in deferred contracts because they generate that kind of revenue. So,
yeah. Well, I just find it interesting that MLB has such high average salaries. I mean, it's like almost double like what an NFL salary is. Now, I'm not talking about the extremes, right? That play with, the hundreds of million of contract. Like the average salary of a football player is like half of what the average salary of a baseball player is, even though football is way more popular than
football is
MLB.
way more popular.
At least in the U.S.
Yeah. I mean, there's only 17 games that these guys play, but obviously, I mean, we all know football is a year-round deal for these players. I mean, they got to train.
It's a punishing sport.
Oh,
right?
hell
It's a car accident every week is the way it's been described.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Yeah. These guys are out to kill each other for 17 weeks straight.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're the modern day gladiators.
For sure.
I mean, it used to be you're fighting lions, right, in the Roman Colosseum.
Yeah.
The new gladiator is, I would say, is NFL football. American football.
That's probably the closest thing to it, no doubt.
I mean, or I guess rugby or Australian league football, right? Those types of sports, right, tend to be the gladiators.
Those
because
guys.
I guess UFC is out there. I don't think boxing is anywhere near what it used to be.
No.
So UFC, I know, is really popular. I don't really care for it, but it's definitely, that's probably, I guess, more gladiatorial.
Yeah, I mean,
from a
UFC, I
sport
can take it or
perspective.
leave it. I know there
Yeah.
are fans. Obviously, the pay-per-views generate a lot of money, but I'll tell you what though, Australian rules football. If you
That
watch
shit's
that,
tough, man.
yeah,
Shit.
I was gonna say that they make the NFL look like a bunch of little girls because those guys basically play NFL football with no pads, and I just I'm like, holy crap, they beat the crap out of each other.
And it's funny is you don't hear
guys get hurt
as much for injuries. Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, there are definitely, injuries that take place, but you just don't see that. And I think there's something to be said about, maybe the helmet in the NFL becoming a weapon that people use. And obviously you go back and you look at, what was the safety from Arizona? The headhunter? Chuck something or Steve something? I don't remember. His name will come to me.
Chuck Cecil, I think was his name.
Chuck Cecil. Yeah. And, famous guys like catching them over the middle and just laying people out, right? The big hits you used to see. They were using this hard plastic helmet, right, as a weapon. And you just don't see that in other sports. And they don't appear to have, from my amateur psychology and investigation that I've done, which is to say none.
Right.
The brain injuries and the head injuries that we see in the NFL.
No. Because now what? You can't lead with your helmet anymore. You got to basically tackle with your shoulder.
And then it's so hard, man. I mean, I see it all the time. And it's like, dude, the safety or the corner or the running back, like they shift their body position and they lower their heads. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, you're the one who got called for it. It's like, it's such a hard.
Well, yeah, you hear defenders say it is really hard to play defense in the NFL these days for that exact reason. So,
well, it's they want offense, they want points on the board.
That's right.
Yeah, but still, like I see you see a hit and you see a running back. They're the ones that lower their head, and then the defender gets called for leading with their head because the running back lowered or the receiver or whatever.
Right?
It's like, oh come on, man, like. Go to review and at least look at it. Like give the defense at least a chance.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm excited for football. I'm excited for the Bears prospects this year. I think they'll be better. I'm excited to watch them develop. I'm excited for the new guys and the new coach and the new staff and the new offense and all that stuff to hopefully come together. I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting. It's good times. Like I said, the city of Chicago is a lot better when the Bears are good, and the sports team is good. If the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, and the Cubs are all doing well, things are well. But the Bears are sort of like the lifeblood of the city, I think.
Oh, for sure. I think the Cubs come in second on that one, but the Bears are definitely everybody's a Bears fan. So.
Well, the Cubs are still dining out on their event, their World Series win from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever.
Hard to believe that was 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Yeah. 2016.
Only 9 years ago after 100 years, right?
I know, but it seems like it was yesterday.
No.
So,
well,
and not one guy from that team is still on the team. Kyle Hendricks was the last one, and he left just at the end of last year.
That's professional sports for you.
Sure
Can't
is.
keep him around. Can't pay him forever.
Yep. And it's what have you done for me lately business.
Exactly.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. Who has it said the NFL stands for not for long?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, good times, man.
Hey, how's your passive retirement income going?
So I've had to put that on hold because here's why. Because the Dodgers were losing stupid games that they shouldn't be losing. And the Sox, like at one point, took like 3 out of 4 from a team. So I didn't bet anything else, but the account like ran down to nothing almost.
Really?
So I need to refuel it. And I obviously missed a huge opportunity this weekend because I should have known that the Cubs would beat the Sox all 3 times. So I need to start it back up again. And I will. Yeah,
man. I mean, this is for science. Like this is something you got to commit to doing it.
I know.
What about the Rockies? Did you add them into the rotation with how bad they are?
I did.
Okay.
And actually the Rockies, They lost a game the other day. I think it was 21-0. And they fired their manager the very next day. And of course, the day I bet on them, they won, like their 5th game of the year or some bullshit like that. So even the Rockies were kind of screwing me over. So I need to kind of reel it all in, assess where they're at, and get back in the game. Let's put it that way. So,
I mean, you're not buying the dip, as they say.
No,
in the financial biz.
But the problem, see, the Dodgers are they're a hard team to read right now because they have 14 pitchers on the injured list. 14. They have,
but they got $1 billion in the bank. So who cares?
I know. I haven't done the math, but I can only imagine how much money is sitting on the injured list right now. They DFA'd a catcher that was with them since 2015. DFA is designated for assignment, essentially cutting him. They DFA'd a utility guy who had been with them since 2016 yesterday. So the Dodgers are making changes a little bit, but despite all this, I don't want to call it turmoil, but despite all the changes that they're making and guys the injured list, they're still like 30 and 17 or something like that. And I think they're still in first place in their division. So, they're just, they keep rolling. It doesn't seem to matter who they put in the lineup or who they put on the mound. They still have a chance to win pretty much every game, and they win most of them. So I should just cut the BS and just keep riding with it. But I don't know.
With the Cubs doing as well as they are, would you think about adding them into the rotation?
I have thought about it. And I just might. But again, I have to resist the urge to parlay them together.
Well, don't parlay.
I know. To make up things or make up for losses quicker. Because when the parlay doesn't happen, it's obviously a bigger loss. So,
well, yeah. Parlays are suckers bets.
I know. We've talked about that. So,
but remember, you're playing with math here. So you can't look at the little trends that are like, okay, yeah, maybe a streak of 5, lost 5.
I have to look long haul. I have to look long term. So
this is an investment. That's right. True. You can't get cold feet. Can't get jittery.
I know.
Right. You got to play the numbers.
I know. It's like,
and the odds are the Sox are not going to be very good.
That's true. That is true. The odds are the Dodgers will end up with over 100 wins and be where they're at. It's kind of like when we were talking about Bitcoin. It went down to like 70,000 a couple weeks ago. I mean, hell, it hit I think it was $107,000 earlier today.
Yeah.
So it's like it's going to come back, and I just gotta roll with it. So
yeah,
next week I will be back in the game. Let's put it that way.
All right. Well, I'm disappointed at your lack of gambling, but I'm glad to hear that you're going to get back into your gambling habit. So, said no one ever.
Yeah, you're disappointed in my
in your financial prudence.
You're disappointed that I'm not continuing to be a degenerate, is basically what you're saying. But you're happy to see that I'm getting back into the degenerate lifestyle. That's good.
You're regenerating your degenerate, your degeneracy. I don't know if that's the word.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much.
So there you go.
Yeah. So, but yeah, hey man, it's welcome back to the States. Welcome back to real life. I'm glad you had a great time. And sounds like it was everything you thought it would be and more. And yeah, we've done 30 of these, man.
30 of these, roughly every week or so. But life and schedules get in the way. I do want to give out a listener of the week, though.
Oh yes, please do.
So I got 2. One's going to be, for my brother Art. So here you go, listener of the week, Art.
Love it. Love it.
And the other one is for the entire city of Amsterdam for being fucking awesome.
Let's go. Like that. That.
There you go. I'm awarding Amsterdam's population of 1 million people, or however many people are there, and their beverages and food and stroopwafels and chocolate, gold stars all around.
I'll support that. Mm-hmm. I'll admit, I have a dumbass of the week.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, it's going to involve a little storytelling here, and I know we're an hour and 43 in, but
Who gives a shit? Go for it.
I'm with you. Okay, so my dumbass of the week goes out to a gentleman by the name of Ryan in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and here's why. So Ryan is probably about 40 years old. He was a gentleman who was staying in the same hotel as we were. He obviously had something missing upstairs. Comes up to me as I'm sitting having breakfast with my dad, telling me he does not like the image that he sees on my watch.
The image that he sees.
The image
on your
that
watch.
I saw on my watch. Now, I have an Apple Watch. Same Apple Watch I bought from you, actually.
Mm-hmm.
All it had is just the clock. So he comes over to the table and he's sitting he's standing, as my dad and I are sitting across from each other. He's standing probably about as close as I am to the computer, as you can see me. Tells me that he doesn't like the image that he sees on my watch. And I said, excuse me? And then he said it again. And then my dad challenged him. And then he finally said, hey, I'm sorry. I have high anxiety. I caught something on your watch. Didn't mean to cause a problem. We're like, okay, no problem, blah, blah, blah. So he walks away, blah, blah, blah. So the next day, we're sitting in the lobby again. This time it's my sister, Justin, Michelle, myself. And then this guy is over at another table talking to himself. And all of a sudden he says in our direction, I can't stand your purse. I hate that purse. And I look at my sister. My sister has her back turned to him. I can see him. I'm looking directly at him. I said to her, I go, do you have a purse on you? And she's like, no. I said to Michelle, do you have a purse on you? And she says, no. So I look at him. He gets up, walks over to our table, just kind of stares at us, and then huffs and puffs and walks through the lobby and walks away. Again, whatever. Obviously, the guy's got a screw loose. Next night, this is Saturday. We're leaving Sunday. So this is Saturday night. It's me, it's Michelle, Justin, and myself. The only three people sitting in the lobby. We're just chit-chatting. It's like 10:30 at night. All of a sudden, he comes out of nowhere and says, can I sit with you guys? Again, as close as I am to the computer right now. Can I sit with you guys? And I looked at him and I said, well, actually, we're about to go upstairs. So we're about done here. Looks at me, looks at Justin, huffs and puffs again, and walks away like he's pissed off.
Who is this guy?
Just some random dude that's staying in the hotel. I don't know what he was there for. I don't know. Then Sunday,
he's a guest of the hotel. He's not like a worker.
At the hotel. Yes.
Okay.
Then Sunday morning happens.
Mm-hmm.
So Justin and my dad and Megan, my sister, left early. They left at like 7:00 in the morning. I met them downstairs in the lobby. Michelle's, she sleeps in a little bit, so she didn't come down. So they left. I went, saw them, had breakfast with them. They left. I go back upstairs. I'm, going to take a shower, all that stuff. Michelle goes downstairs because she's hungry. She had woken up, so she goes downstairs and gets something to eat. And I'm like, I don't want her, I don't want her to be down there by herself. So I turn around and go back downstairs. So I'm walking out of my hotel room. Turns out that this guy who has been in our business all weekend is staying in the room diagonal from us across the hall. Okay. Mm-hmm. Never knew that. Thank God we didn't know that, but never knew that. I walk by his room and I'm just going to go down the stairs because it's just, the elevator's there. I'm thinking I'm just going to go down the stairs and, I get down there quicker. I walk by this guy's room and I hear the door open. At the time, I did not know it was him. I hear the door open as I walk past. So naturally, I turn around. It's him. Once again, he's having a conversation with himself. Very animated conversation he's having with himself. Complaining about noise in the hotel, people in the hallway. He sees me, looks at me and points at me and tells me, Jeff, I'm dead serious when I say this. He looks at me and tells me, he goes, and you need to get out of this fucking hallway and go down the stairs and don't come back up here. I look at him And and he starts walking towards me, and I just pointed to him. I go, you get the fuck away from me right now. Then he says to me again, he's like, get the fuck away from you. You need to go downstairs. I've been dealing with you people all weekend. You need to get out of here now. And now he's coming at me with a fast walk. Like I'm about to take you down. Once again, as I'm walking kind of backwards, because I don't need any problems. I don't want to get into anything with this guy. We're looking to leave like in a couple hours, you know? So I walk into this stairwell and I told him again, I go, you get the fuck away from me right now. I start to come down the stairs. Mind you, a kids basketball team is also staying in this hotel, and a bunch of the kids were at the bottom of the stairwell hearing this go on. They were probably 13, maybe 14 years old. I get into the stairwell. He screams at me again, to the sense of, you better not fucking come back up here, you know, whatever. At that point, I kind of tuned him out. Kids are all like, God, they're like, that dude is weird. And I said, yes, there's obviously something wrong with him. Please, I said, stay down here. Don't go up there. I come down. I go right past Michelle, right past her. And I went straight to the front desk and I said, look, I know you know who I'm talking about. If this guy comes at me one more time, I'm going to knock him out. But I don't want any problems. I'm just telling you now. Front desk guy says, yes, we've had a couple complaints. I'm going to go take care of it. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm thinking this is going to be the end of it. So I give it a minute, and I'll admit my adrenaline was pumping. You know, I was hot. I was ready to go. I give it a minute. I'm like, I can't even eat. I'm not even hungry anymore. I was going to go have a waffle, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But,
well, that'll solve all the problems.
Well, of course, waffles make everything better.
Yeah,
as we know. So,
Science.
granted, there was no Belgian chocolate with it, but still. Anyway.
Yeah, still, that's fine.
That's right. So we give it a few minutes. Front desk guy goes upstairs. I'm thinking, okay, he's going to go handle it. I said to Michelle, I'm like, listen, I told her what was going on. I said, why don't you and I go upstairs now while he's dealing with the front desk guy? We can go in the room, you know, get ready, you know, and get ready to go. So we go up there, we walk by, or no, she was eating. I walk back upstairs to make sure the coast is clear. I go up there. They're talking, but pretty animated. And the door was still shut, but you could hear him talking to this front desk guy from behind the door. And they're, you know, whatever it was.
Wait, the front desk guy's in the room with him?
No. He was on the outside knocking on the door to try to get him to open the door. He wouldn't open the door. Gotcha. So I walk by and I'm thinking, okay, this guy's in his room. The front desk guy's dealing with him. I call Michelle on her phone. I said, listen, why don't you come upstairs now so there's not a problem while the front desk guy deals with him? Why don't you come upstairs now? And that way we can get ready to go. So I peek my head into the hallway to make sure that she comes up. Jeff, the timing could not have been any better. Elevator opens. So does this guy's door to the hotel. Thankfully, the front desk guy was still there trying to deal with him. She comes across, walks behind the front desk guy to come to our room. He is mid-sentence complaining about something, and all of a sudden he points at Michelle and he goes, I've been waiting for these two fucking people to leave here all weekend. They have been bothering me all weekend. And I yelled at this guy, and he's like basically talking to her, and I yelled at him. I go, don't you dare talk to her. And he's like, you can't tell me who to talk to. I go, I can tell you not to talk to her. Do not talk to her. So Michelle's finally, and again, I am fired up, ready to go. Front desk guy's looking at me, all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, Michelle just comes up to me. She's like, hey, go in the room, calm down. Let's take showers. We'll get ready to go. Let him deal with it. The last sentence I hear from the front desk guy is, if you don't calm down and stop yelling at people in my hotel, I'm going to have to do something about it. The guy looks at him and says, go ahead and fucking do something about it then. He goes, fine. Slams the door. I'm calling the police. He goes downstairs. Cops were there in like 5 minutes. They start dealing with him as I'm loading the car. So I'm taking stuff out of our hotel. I mean, we got Michelle travels very heavily. Unlike, she's not a light packer like yourself. She brings everything. I mean, we got clothes, we got food, we got drinks, we have it all. So I moved the car to the back of the hotel because I would have had to pass this guy's room every time I went downstairs. So
right.
I moved the stuff to the back. I take the long walk, and the cops are dealing with him. And I think they finally got him out of there. But, and obviously, I feel bad. The guy obviously had a screw loose and stuff. But when the guy kind of when somebody kind of threatens your safety, you kind of throw that all out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
there's a limit.
Yeah. So finally, I think by the time we had the car loaded, we were ready to go. I think they had finally gotten him out of there and had him in a police car. I didn't see it, but I think that's where he was. So to Ryan in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I hope you get your shit together, dude. I feel bad for what happened, but for what you did all weekend being an asshole, you are dumbass of the week. So there you go. You blew it!
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Dumbass of the week. It sounds well-deserved to me, and you know, whatever it may be. I'm surprised I'm going to award an honorary dumbass of the week
to the front desk
to the
clerk.
hotel. Yeah, for not doing something about it before that. If you've had multiple complaints, like what the fuck are you waiting for, man?
Exactly. So I don't get that amped up very often. That shit doesn't happen to me very often. I'm a very calm guy. I don't yell all that often, but when stuff like that does happen, I get pretty amped up. And you know, I didn't want to have a problem.
Rightfully so, though, I think.
Yeah, I didn't want to have a problem, but you bothered my family all freaking weekend, dude. And we were there for a reason, to have a good time, to celebrate my son. And, you know, we did that to the best we could, but you just have to be a sideshow that we didn't need. So,
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So hopefully he got his stuff figured out, but whatever happened, it happened after we were long gone. So it was, you know, could have been a lot worse.
That sounds exciting.
It was, little fireworks for Sioux Falls. So Ryan,
so the moral I think
luck
of this entire episode is you should get out there and travel, see the world.
Yeah.
You'll see, you know, go international, go domestic. You know, there's always stories to be had wherever you go.
Yes. Chances are you can run into the very best, and there are chances are you can run into the worst.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah.
Wild. Yeah. So, yeah.
I didn't have to deal with any of that in Amsterdam or Berlin. So,
that's good.
You know, like I said, nothing but good times in clean cities. So,
yeah. So, there you
shockingly, very few homeless in either location. Way more here, at least maybe not just, you know, visible, but damn it. I walked all over Amsterdam, all over that freaking city, and none to be found.
Well, there were plenty in Sioux Falls. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty here, you know, where I live too. So, yeah, I was just, you kind of expect it when you're a big city, but
yeah, for sure.
The fact that it didn't see any was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So there you go.
All right. That's probably a good way.
Yeah, we're probably
approaching 2 hours.
Like 2 hours in, man.
Hour and 57 minutes and change. So
are you traveling this week?
Yeah, I am. I'm off to New York City this week.
Yeah.
So I'll be staying in Times Square. So who knows if I'll have any ideas. I got a little workshop I'm running, and then some client work, and then coming back Friday. So technically I'm on PTO tomorrow.
There you go.
And then I board a plane Tuesday and back Friday. So we can regale each other with tales and trivia next week. And I'll see if I can get my brother to join us.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that for sure.
Cool,
man.
All right, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I will catch up with you next week.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Take care.